Welcome to the Mix Minus Podcast, the NBA Summer Edition with Tim Castano and Greg Hrinya. Tim, it's been so long that I don't even know what you do anymore. Politically, personally.
I'm good, thanks.
And Greg, I don't know who you're writing for these days. Is it a new Mark Cuban upstart or startup?
No, it's the same upstart.
Axis, and you're doing general NBA stuff.
Yep.
No more Nets, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like it's our it's the thing we do every year. It's an annual tradition. Let's start with the Nets. Is anybody excited about the Nets? Tim, Greg? No one saw me look at the wrong person, but maybe Greg.
I mean, I guess excited if you're comparing it to last year and you think 35 or 36 wins is exciting. I mean, that's probably where I'd slot them in at, just looking at their roster and guessing, probably in like that 9, 10, 11 range. That would be my projection for them. I think there's a lot of unknown about their roster. They're very excited about these Europeans, but I mean, I have nothing to compare them to. So I mean, I don't know how that's going to work out.
Yeah, don't they kind of have to sort of be near the playoffs around this year? I mean, I know we look at the roster and you probably think no, but it's been so many years and there's been so much credit given to the Brain Trust that there's so much money too. It's like,
but now that you have your own draft pick, you want to be around the playoffs. I mean, it's like you give the Celtics all these great draft picks and then you finally get your own and now you're going to get the 8th seed and then get swept by Boston in the first round, which I find interesting. I mean, I know at some point you do want to be competitive and they've had a number of years of not being competitive, but I just find it interesting that now that they own their first round pick, which people have looked forward to for so long, the Billy King era finally being gone. And now they're going to be like right in the middle, which I feel like is where you don't want to be as an NBA franchise.
I'd say two things. One, they somewhat remind me of the Denver Nuggets in the Jeff Bazilic era when they had that one season where they overachieved and everyone knew the next season they were going to have all this cap space, which is when they went after Andre Miller, and Kenyon Martin. But the team itself was very competitive, so it was interesting, and the fans were into it. Same thing with the Orlando Magic. The season, I think it was Doc Rivers' first season with the team before they went and got McGrady and Grant Hill. So it kind of reminds me of those types of situations where we're going to be talking more about next season a lot. You can't avoid it as you're talking about this season, talking about next season. And I said this to Greg before, which is I am a little concerned that have they just spent the last 5 years trying to clear out the mistakes from the past only to then stumble into the same mistakes again in this offseason? If they try and make worst case scenario, do they get Kyrie Irving and Jimmy Butler because they have enough cap space? Is that really a dissimilar situation than they were in 2012 or 2013? Are they setting themselves up for something like that? I'm hoping that this regime is smart enough and has learned lessons that they won't do that, but I'm just curious.
I would say if they could pick up that duo, I'm probably okay with it. Although I do love the way Jimmy Butler has really kind of asserted himself into this conversation, and I don't know how great Jimmy Butler is. He's a really good player. And I think we had this discussion a couple years ago. Would you take Jimmy Butler or Paul George? I still might take Paul George, even though he had a bit of a tough time there with Russell Westbrook last year.
I would say Paul George, especially now that Carmelo's out of the picture. I think that he'll flourish a lot more this year, where it's just him and Westbrook really getting to dominate the ball. And also I like George better on defense. I mean, I know Butler's a great defender too, but I think that Paul George...
a little smoother too.
Yeah.
Butler's very bulldogish, like the way he plays. And he also... I don't know. It just seems like drama follows him everywhere. Like he couldn't wait to get to Minnesota to be with Tibbs, and now no one wants to be with Tibbs.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem interested in developing young players.
And he's not good enough to not have to do that. You know what I mean? Like the craziest part is, I mean, it's funny how we're on them now, but Wiggins, he's almost a bust.
Yeah. I think he needs a change of scenery.
You think?
But, I mean, can you get a change of scenery at that price tag? You don't know.
It's tough, and we'll get there. But the Nets are 32.5.
We've already traded him to Portland, by the way.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Well, I think Portland is a major player in a lot of trades, obviously. But I'm looking at the Bovada. So Nets are 32.5. They probably have a good chance to go over on that if they don't trade people away.
I would take the over because they always try and be competitive. You get a lot of teams at the end of the year who are looking at draft picks, and I think that if they're in striking distance of the 8th seed, that they're going to push for it. So I would take the over. Again, I think I said before, 34, 35, 36 wins, somewhere around there.
Well, it's amazing their point guard rotation. D'Angelo Russell, Spencer Dinwiddie, and Shabazz Napier. It's kind of deep, and they're probably going to want to start Dinwiddie, though, right?
I'd imagine that they would start Dinwiddie alongside Russell, but then there's also the possibility they play LeVert off Russell.
It's amazing that Crabbe is how expensive their bench is.
Yeah, or if they start Crabbe at the 2, then you go Carroll and Hollis Jefferson and then Allen.
Yeah, but I mean, like when you think of their bench, and for whatever reason, this Roto world, the Kenneth Faried trade didn't get rescinded because of the weed thing, right? Because I don't even see him on the depth chart. But when you see their, oh yeah, there he is. They got him as a center. But how about the money in their bench? Crabbe, Faried, Jared Dudley, and that's probably enough. Joe Harris, right? He got kind of a deal this. Yeah, did he get 16 for 2?
Yeah, that's exactly what he got.
$8 million a year.
They didn't do any poison pill restricted free agent deal this summer, so that was a deviation from the previous summers.
That is true.
Yeah, and I don't think they're going to be the bad bank anymore. I don't think they're going to be the depot for bad contracts in exchange.
Well, maybe they'll get Otto Porter this year, right?
Yeah.
Or that Tyler, what's his name?
Tyler Johnson.
Tyler Johnson. Every time I see that guy, he looks smaller and smaller. I think he was on like some party boat with Dwayne Wade or something. I was saying, or they were practice. Everyone's like doing these practices at different places, and then they have to do the picture. Did you see that one the other day with LeBron putting together the group?
Yeah.
In UCLA, and Kawhi was there looking healthy. Chetty Osman was there.
My takeaway was Kawhi Leonard's hands on the ball. It looked like a child's ball that he had in his hands. Like his whole hands enveloped the ball.
He does have big hands. And then Randy Ayers. Is he an assistant with the Cavs? Where was Randy Ayers? He used to be like a...
Randy Ayers was the head coach of Ohio State in the 90s.
He was, yeah.
And then he eventually worked his way to become the head coach of Philadelphia, right?
He is currently assistant coach of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Is that for real? Wow. That is crazy.
It was the Sixers, right? He was head coach of the Sixers.
He was, yeah. The Ayers era.
Yeah, he was Jimmy Jackson's coach in college.
Oh, my goodness.
Lawrence Funderburk.
So I don't know who the Nets have. Who's going to be the player that they fatten up this year? Maybe D'Angelo Russell. He's got to have a year this year. I mean, this is
a big year for him. I mean, I don't want to say make or break, but I mean, he's looking at a big contract in his future. Or I mean, if he doesn't play well, then he won't be looking at one. But I mean, he's at that point where if he wants to be paid like an elite player, he's going to have to show something this year.
Well, it's almost more than having to be a make or break. It's like there's no better time than for it to be a make.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, what more do you want? And I think watching him, I watched a lot of the Nets early last year. I think watching him, I wasn't amazingly impressed with his play on the floor. I was impressed with his skills and athleticism, but he's almost just like he enjoys being nonchalant.
Yeah.
Like he enjoys making it look like the game's so easy for him.
Yeah, and that gets him into trouble a lot, especially late in games when he throws the ball out of bounds. His shot selection can be weird at times. Defensively, he's a pretty lackluster defender. So, I mean, there's a lot of things he has to work on. I mean, when he gets hot, he's hot. So, I mean, he can score with anybody, but he's got a lot of other things to fine-tune in this game.
So the next, since we always start with the Nets, we started there, but I want to go right to the Lakers. We won't go through a lot of these teams. So I don't know how you guys feel. I mean, we didn't talk right after free agency. I totally get the LeBron going there. I don't like it because like he literally didn't go for basketball reasons at all. And I don't know why he's doing that. Like, why is he going somewhere when it's not for basketball reasons, when it can only hurt his legacy? He's 34. Sometimes you start doing things. I mean, it's not even a true 34. It's like a 37, really, in true basketball sense. And he didn't lose anything. I mean, that was one of the most unbelievable playoffs I think I ever watched, right up through game one. But I don't like when things are done for not for basketball reasons, especially for a great player. I think when things go wrong, they go wrong real quickly, and he doesn't have a reservoir of goodwill built up to get the benefit of the doubt when things go wrong. I mean, you're seeing this weird stuff happening with taking the murals down. They don't want him, which is really weird. They're almost like, yeah, you're coming at the wrong time. If you came when you were even if you came when you were 28, 29, when you went back to the Cavs, it's different. But I don't like it. I'm seeing the Instagram with all the wine parties and like the $5,000. You can do that. But the roster is just a joke. Like, I don't like the roster at all.
Yeah, it'll be fun to watch anyway.
It's going to be fun to watch LeBron playing in LA. Like, that's going to be fun. It hasn't been worthwhile to watch the Lakers in a long time, and that's a shame because that is one of the better television games to watch with the recessed lighting and all that stuff. But I just hate that he said, I'm going to that roster. And then all the garbage where it's like Magic met with him and he was an hour early and then he went in and LeBron knew more about the roster than Magic did. First of all, that's a real bad sign if that's the case. And second of all, he's BSing because if he knew more about the roster.
He was talking about Jamal Wilkes and Byron Scott.
You just don't go, maybe his roster. Yeah. And I have no doubt he's going to make the players they have markedly better. But for this guy to give up the championship, the automatic championship round thing right now, it scares me. It's just not worth it. And to let them get the 4-year deal. And I love how everyone's like, you'll even hear the Lakers say this or like Magic. This is a 4-year thing. LeBron signed up. Yeah, okay. But it's a 4-year thing, but it's not a 24-year-old. Yeah. Like, okay, so in year 35, year 36, 37, he'll be okay. You only know that in hindsight. You can't say that looking forward. And to not put players there, to not force players there, whether he was okay with having the roster he was or not. See, the fact that he was okay with the roster being like that really scares me. That he wasn't like, you got to get people here. Because it means he's like going somewhere where he almost thinks is cooler than him. Everywhere else, he plays a hard bargain, and then all of a sudden he's like, no, whatever you got, I'm going here. The ball dad, bring him on. And the guy's like, yeah, this is Lonzo's team. And you're just like, really? Is this really worth living in one of your Brentwood mansions each night? And then... sorry, I'm on a rant. But
I know.
But then because I love LeBron. Like,
the day after the election.
The run in Cleveland was amazing. And now all of a sudden he's got TV shows. He's got the HBO barbershop show. Like, everything is now set for this. That YouTube TV show with the Newark Central basketball team. It's like all this stuff is happening and it's so preordained. I don't like it. Tim?
I'm not bothered by it. So I don't feel as strongly about it as you do. I almost feel like the NBA gave a collective shrug when the decision came out. I mean, there was some speculation as to where he might go, but then that Sunday night when it came out, I was like, okay, I guess it makes sense. I'm not bothered if he's not making it for 100% basketball reasons. He did have a great run in Cleveland. And the roster... I don't think he's playing for this season. I think he is playing for next season.
But how can you do that?
I don't know. I mean, I get that, yes, there's only going to be diminishing returns with each additional season that you continue with your career, especially with the mileage on his odometer. But if that's what he wants to do, that's what he wants to do. I mean, I don't know. I'm not as troubled by it. It's an interesting choice. I'll say that in some ways.
Is he making it past the second round of the playoffs?
He might not.
And he knows that going in, though. Anywhere he went in the East that was a better choice, he was going to be fine. Even if he went to Houston. I thought Houston would have been good.
So you would have preferred him to go on. What was your ranking? Was it stay in Cleveland, Philadelphia, Houston, and then Lakers?
I didn't love Philadelphia. And it's funny because when you went back to the letter, the coming home letter, everything about that letter was, I'm staying home from here on out. This is it. And you are free to change your mind. It's like the election. 4 years is a long time. But there's something about that letter. Like, I can't believe what was in his head when he started his time coming back to Cleveland. And even after winning a championship, going 4 times, much on his back as anyone. But I'm just surprised things turned in a relative 4 years. Like when he's talking about, I want the next entrepreneur to know they can stay in Cleveland, they can do this. That's about building for like a long period of time. And I know he's got his I Promise school in Akron. And I was joking, if it were the Akron Cavaliers, he would have stayed. He doesn't think of Cleveland as home. It's a region thing. It's Northeast Ohio. I don't think he loves Cleveland. He loves Akron. So if they just called themselves the Akron Cavaliers, that would have been different. But I don't like that I don't like what it means about almost Cleveland now. It's almost like they're big time. Now they're not.
But I think things can change in 1 year. Look at Paul George. I mean, he was a lock to go to the Lakers, and then in 1 year, he changed his mind from going to the Lakers and staying in Oklahoma City in the Midwest. So, I mean, after 4 years, you could say, well, a lot changes over 4 years. I mean, I would have liked to see him stay in Cleveland. I mean, I love LeBron. I love watching him. He's my favorite player. But I feel like he's done enough for the game that if that's what makes him happy, like, I'm okay with it. But you're right. I mean, I would have liked to see him stay in Cleveland and kind of ride that thing out for legacy purposes. But no, go on.
Roster-wise, Lakers or Cleveland? When you say you don't like it for basketball reasons, do you prefer the Lakers roster or the Cavaliers roster?
Well, I mean, yeah, that's not really close. And man, is it a shame that Kyrie had to go.
Yeah.
It is. So I'm saying in terms of his probably...
But I don't think they're markedly better. Like I was looking at the...
I think they are.
I was looking at the over-unders. Well, yeah, I guess they are if you're thinking...
Especially with the cap space they have coming available. And I think you can move some of the players even this season. In season, I think one of the reasons they had Josh Hart playing the Summer League was to showcase him, possibly for a trade even in the offseason, which didn't happen. And look, the signings of... I think he's not playing for this season when you look at the offseason acquisitions they made. When you bring in Rondo, Beasley, McGee... and Lance Stevenson.
Why did the Lakers do this? I don't understand it.
But they're all essentially one-year deals.
I know, but I
they're
don't
placeholders.
Yeah. I just don't want to play with placeholders. Why? He wouldn't play with placeholders when he was 25 going to Miami. I mean, he was doing it when he was coming home, even though that team was much better than he thought. But it's funny because when you look at the over-unders versus the wins and losses last year, LeBron literally means 20 wins in the East. And it looks like by these calculations, he means about 15 in the West. I just would have rather deployed those wins elsewhere. I would have loved to see him in Houston and figuring out how you break that up with the dominant ball handlers.
Look, I think basketball-wise, Houston would have been the better choice. But if you're looking at it from basketball terms, Lakers versus Cleveland, the Lakers may give him a better roster. But he'd still go to the finals.
He could still go to the finals with the Cavs.
I almost look at it this way, which is, it's almost like someone who is nearing retirement and is moving to a region deciding we're going to retire here, but before we make a decision what house to buy, we're going to rent. So I feel like this season's Lakers roster is the rental.
Well, and the kid going to college or high school too, I think means a lot. Mm-hmm. Gary Payton was right when he's like, LeBron's son is going to this high school, by the way.
Well, there's two things to note. With Houston, they would have needed some creative cap maneuvering. They would have had to find someone to take Ryan Anderson because there was no way for them to get...
Or maybe Eric Gordon.
Or him. There was no way to get that 4 years, $154-ish million on their cap, along with Harden, along with Paul, if they didn't move someone else. And then also with the Lakers, I think the entire team's on a tryout this year. Mm-hmm. Be it trading the young guys for established players or even those one-year guys, like they all pretty much have to be at their best. And so to Tim's point, I mean, everybody's motivated. They're getting a motivated roster. And Villanova aside, I actually really like Josh Hart.
I like Josh Hart too. I love Josh Hart.
I mean,
I do like him.
Actually, I think he fits probably better than almost any player on the roster.
He was the LeBron of Summer League, but...
Yeah. And nothing to do with
Javale McGee, though.
Nothing to do with Summer League, but I thought that Josh Hart played really well in his rookie year. I mean, he was a really good rebounder, defender. I think he does a lot of the dirty work. I think he's the perfect complement to be like a good role player alongside a guy like LeBron if they get another star there, and he can sort of be one of those tertiary players.
So here's my idea, because I think it's not going to be pretty early. I think it might be like where they jump out and then they're hovering around 500 at some point. And I sort of want the LeBron who's like just completely disgusted with that if I got the LeBron who's like, I'm living in LA, whatever, man. We got the Staples Center. I'm gonna have a short year this year, and then I'm still living in LA. The weather's nice. I'm on the West Coast. I don't think that's. I want the LeBron who gets mad and is like taking a 2-week vacation. Although he's in LA already, so I guess he won't.
Every day is a vacation.
But
In-N-Out Burger every night.
I think there's two teams that are like holding cells of players for playoff teams. One is across town, the Clippers. That team is filled with players who will be in next year's playoffs with other teams in big roles. They're filled with it. Like, it's unbelievable when you look at their roster. I think Portland's like that as well. I mean, we saw what happened. They were nearly a 50-win team, and then it was a joke. They were steamrolled. Yeah. They don't have an alpha, and their backcourt is making $54 million a year. $54 million a year. I think, what do you think of this? Lonzo and Dang to Portland for
McCollum.
No, Damian Lillard. I don't want McCollum because I want the dagger shooter. I know McCollum can shoot, but I like Lillard. What do you think of that?
I mean, I would love it if I were the Lakers, but I don't know that Portland would look to move Lillard. I think that he's a more marketable player, and just like the shot that he hit against Houston, it's time, that Lillard time, that whole thing. I think that he's got a persona. I think that Portland would like that persona.
He's 28 this year, though, right? And he also went to the owner last year a little disenchanted, and the team came back around. I would just probably move. I would move from him. He has that look on his face sometimes when things aren't going right.
Yeah.
And I would just, because I would go the 1-for-1 with Lonzo. I would give Lonzo a chance up there and then get the balls the hell out of town.
Yeah. No, I mean, that would be great for the Lakers.
And I think it would be better with LeBron too.
Yeah.
Lillard. What do you think?
I know Tim has some ideas about McCollum. So
yeah, I mean, I think I could see McCollum and Wiggins being switched up. I could see that happening. I mean, you have to include some other players to make it work. And I think maybe that makes more sense for Portland in terms of staying competitive or trying to change things up. I don't know how I feel about Lillard and LeBron together. I mean, I know he is a much better player than Isaiah Thomas, but and Isaiah Thomas was not healthy when he played with LeBron. He's more in the Mo Williams vein. He's sort of like a wealthy man's Mo Williams.
I think it's very similar, but I think much wealthier.
Yeah,
because Mo really never did it without LeBron. LeBron really built him, and Boobie Gibson before him. That was a guy who was just like everything there, and then nothing when did he even play anywhere else? I don't even know if I remember him in another uniform. But I don't know. I think they're gonna have to. I just hope they're that greedy behind the scenes, because it doesn't sound like they sound happy, which they should be. They have LeBron, but I mean, they sound like too happy right now, like as if they won a championship last year and then Kevin Durant came to their team.
Well, when they lose a couple of games by 25, 30 points, maybe the honeymoon period will end, and I could definitely see that happening a number of times. With no chemistry and just the whole complexion of the roster, and I think that they're going to be good, and I think they'll figure it out. Because they've got LeBron, he could figure out with anybody. Mm-hmm. But there's going to be some definite growing pains.
And there's not a lot of easy games in the West.
No, every night. I mean, even take a team like Tim's Memphis team, for example.
Who might be pretty good this year. Yeah, they're like the Mets.
Yeah, but I mean,
they got the pitchers.
You look at their roster, and it's like they get Conley back. They've got Gasol. They've got a good rookie. Yeah. They built up guys like Dylan Brooks, younger guys who got a chance to play. It's like that's not an easy game. I mean, it's. Maybe that's a game the Lakers think they should win, but I mean, ultimately, that's considered maybe an easier game in the West.
Even Dallas, they're a little bit better.
Yeah,
they're going to be better. What are they? They might be 10 wins up in the over-unders. A lot of hype on Doncic. I just have to see him play because.
But the point is, you take all the non-playoff teams from last year, and you could make an argument for all those being tough games.
Yeah.
Well, and the travel's harder. The travel's harder in the West. Like when you're in Cleveland, you're kind of centrally located to a lot of places. The West is just like you're flying all over the place for just like in-division games too. I think I might have seen a tweet today that said 80% of last year's All NBA players now play in the West. I think I saw that. Pretty crazy. So We're thinking that's a tough over-under, to be honest, though, because it's 49.5. And
I think they're under.
Which is like bad. You can't get no, I mean,
we're
being honest, but I'm saying like perceptually, that's bad. If you get LeBron in at 34, remember how? Look, it's not the same. But do you remember when the Nets got Garnett and Pierce right after they played that playoff series, and it was like, oh my God, they're like 60% of the players they were. Garnett was like 40%. Yeah. And I'm not saying LeBron's going to be like that, but we haven't seen him wear a different uniform. He could look a little funny in that uniform. He could look a little older. And I just don't know. I just don't have a great feeling about it. I'm fine with it. I'm happy he went there, whatever. I just don't have a good feeling about the team, and I don't like that he's taken away finals runs, leaving them on the table while he's still shockingly somehow in some kind of prime. It's kind of nuts, but that's a hard over because remember Cleveland last year, they had to bust their butt to get to 50 wins. It looked like they were going to be like a 45-win team in the East. And he got the Lakers players on that team.
Let's play this angle, though. Could you argue that no matter what anyone does next season, the Golden State Warriors are still going to win the championship?
Yes.
So is he saying, I'd rather spend the year in Los Angeles with a team that has more space, more youth, knowing that that's a lost season anyway, as opposed to spending that season in Cleveland where the upside is not as high, knowing that Golden State's going to win anyway?
But he's got the beautiful Bath Township mansion. The rich part of Akron is called Bath, just like the English countryside town. He loves it there. They build the practice facility halfway between Akron and Cleveland. It's great. Life is great. His family's there. I just think he didn't want his kid playing high school basketball there too, by the way. But the only thing I would go against that with is he still can get to the finals, and Kobe Altman showed that he could make some deals, and everyone was sort of into those deals when they were made at that time. It was daring. It was major. It was a major move. It was very brave of a move. He could do that next time. The problem with Cleveland is you can't get players there by choice. Players do not choose to go there. Like Kevin Love, sure, he signed the long-term deal, but he didn't choose to go there. And he was coming from Minnesota, so it's like, is there really... I'd rather live in Minnesota, but...
maybe also part of it, too, is that LeBron doesn't want to take any more finals losses. If he's going to get to the finals, he's going to have to get past Golden State, and he's got a much better chance to win the finals in that case. But, I mean, to go to the finals 2 or 3 more times and take losses...
He'll be able to get players here. Which is what's good. That's why they were able to build Miami, because players want to go live there. The other big benefit is that you're getting teams coming in playing you who are partying all night in Beverly Hills. That's another major thing which happened in Miami as well. But I still would have stuck with Cleveland. Maybe a 1-year. I don't know. I would have stuck there because, yes, they got swept. But how afraid for... I don't want to say afraid because you guys don't love the Golden State experiment, I think, as much as I do. But they looked very vulnerable in that 1 week period between when they're down 3-2 and if Chris Paul doesn't get injured, which is part of it's part of the deal with Chris Paul. He can get injured, and so it's fool's gold in a way. But when they were up 3-2, they were kicking Golden State's ass. You hadn't seen that since the 3-1 comeback. And then
the Grizzlies were up 2-1 in 2015.
And I just heard him on the Bill Simmons podcast. He was talking about that, the adversity. Or since Kawhi was kicking their ass until he stepped on someone's foot and then got hurt in that series. They were so vulnerable. And coming off of that series, and then what happened in game 1, I'm just shocked at how quick parts of the league caught up to Golden State, at least for a moment. In the totality of it all, Golden State will just steamroll. That was really that was a lot of vulnerability, and I think that having Kevin Durant almost didn't even, for a period of time, it was almost like a drag because they were all just well, we can be 60% of ourselves and we're still going to win. And then they were punched and they're like, oh my God, can we find 80, 90, 100% of ourselves?
2 years ago, they were down 3-1 to Oklahoma City in the Western Conference Finals, and they came
without
back
Kevin Durant, though, too.
Yeah,
and then they were up 3-1 and then lost it. So they are vulnerable, but no one thought they were going to be this vulnerable with the Kevin Durant team. They were very vulnerable. And look, they were going to win the series, but if Cleveland was really going to win that game.
Well, they were going to win game one, and they were competitive in the other game where Durant hit all those shots in the fourth quarter. So, I mean, you could say, like, Cleveland was good enough to win a couple games.
Absolutely. But, like, with LeBron there and what he did in that game, I don't think I've ever seen a player play like that. I mean, except Durant's been pretty good. Like it, but, I mean, he was like Shaq from the perimeter. He just did whatever he wanted to the entire Golden State team. So we can say, yes, is anyone else winning other than Golden State? Yes, I totally get that. But I like the chance of being there in the house I built that I think is the most beautiful thing ever, with the chance that maybe you can trade some guys. But I also think he got out because he got the championship, and it's your chance to get out. I mean, we all have it in life. You make a decision, and then all of a sudden you're like, all those things that went into my decision-making process were true then, but I'm feeling a little bit different now. I want a little something else. Tim?
I don't know what we're talking about now.
But yeah, the over is going to be... You know what? I'm going to give him the over, though, still. All that said, I'm going to give him the over because... It's going to be seeing LeBron play in LA is going to be really interesting. The home games, especially.
Yeah, I mean, what I was going to say before is that's if I were a gambler, that's probably not one that I touch because it's probably within 2 games, one way or the other.
Yeah, that's a really that's a tough one. So let's really take it from up there and bring it way down. Let's go back to the alphabetical. The Hawks, they're worth watching because Trae Young, he was really yin and yang in that in both his college career and in summer league. He looked horrendous. Steph Curry's had moments where he looks horrendous. It takes a while to figure out how to play the position like this, like a quarterback who scores, very much like Damian Lillard as well, as we were talking about. But it's going to be fun to watch him because he gets hot, and I think if he gets the confidence that he's able to hit it while being guarded game after game, it changes the way the court is laid out because now guys are open because you got to be guarded way out there, just like we see with Steph Curry. He doesn't have the team of Steph Curry, but it should be fun to watch.
Tim and I were talking about this before. Like, Curry didn't become Curry right away. It took him a number of years before injuries, bad Golden State teams. It took a while before he became
other point guards on the depth chart.
2-time MVP. Yeah. Yep. But yeah, I wouldn't overreact to him struggling at first. I think that he's actually a really good passer and a really good playmaker. And I think that if he's willing to maybe avoid some of those 30-footers just for the sake of taking 30-footers because he has the ability to, if he can get those easy buckets for other guys, that'll make it a little easier for him to get acclimated into the league. It'll be fun to watch him, but I look forward to seeing how he can make his other teammates better too, not just because of his long-distance shooting.
Well, I think the fun part with him is, much like Steph, he usually shoots those when he feels it. Like, he won't just shoot it for the heck of shooting it. I mean, at least what you saw with Oklahoma. And that Oklahoma team was pretty awful except for him, even though they were Oklahoma. But, good old friend Jeremy Lin's down there. It was a little weird to me, the Nets giving Jeremy Lin the big... They did that with a lot of these players who left, and I think it's like... I don't know that they meant that much. Yeah. I guess Jeremy Lin choosing to sign there was a big deal, but it was a lot of money. The guy's made a ton of money in his career. I think I did the math. He's made 2.5 times as much as Isaiah Thomas, I believe.
There's a joke there I could make, but it's too easy.
Yeah. Jeremy Lin,
contemporary. #1 movie at the box office this weekend.
There's irritations. Did you see it?
No.
Have you seen any movies lately?
Mission Impossible.
Did you see Black Klansman?
Not yet.
Okay. It's kind of in the Oscars from what I see. Who would be the Black Klan? No, I'm just kidding. So, yeah, there's not a ton. I know John Collins kind of came on a little bit, right?
I think they could win Summer League. I think if you put that Atlanta Hawks team and put them in the Summer League...
Didn't the Lakers win Summer League last year?
The year before with Kuzma and Ball,
Yeah. So maybe LeBron will go to the Hawks next year. There's not a lot there, but they are let's see. Who's their coach now, too?
Lloyd Pierce.
crazy.
He was an assistant on those tanking Philadelphia teams. So I mean, he helped bring a lot of their young guys along. So I think the thinking is he can help bring
let's get a loser in here.
Yeah, exactly right.
So they're at 23.5. I would not touch that until. Well, you want to see how Trae Young. You really want to see, because it's sad sometimes when you hear the whole stories, you watch him, and then he was humbled badly in Summer League until he started to get it, which is a good sign. But I don't know, 23.5. Boston Celtics, that is a hell of a team right there. It's a 58 win under-over. It's very possible they can be on the over because there's just not a lot of... the East could be a pretty simple league to play.
Yeah, I mean,
they're so deep.
I feel like there are 4 or 5 teams in the East who are interesting, and then the rest of them are all in the same kind of ballpark.
Yeah, I was really impressed, obviously, with the Celtics, doing it without Kyrie. It is weird how much talk there is about Kyrie leaving after this year. And why is that popping up? And why wasn't he like not on the bench for Game 7 or something?
I think it's popping up because... Isn't he the one who's seeding that in the press? I mean,
which is why
didn't he come out and say like I'm interested in New York? Or
he might have, or was it source? But it's just like
I feel like I read stories that he didn't like the idea that like Tatum and Brown and they were getting all this attention, and like he wants to be the guy and all that sort of stuff. I mean,
if that's true, that will be Kyrie Irving's downfall, because if he finds his way out of this, he finds his way out of the best situations. Yeah. Like the whole idea, Kyrie just really, it was going to be his team, and then LeBron came, and he really had to, subsume his ego a little bit. It's like, no. There's certain guys, come on. I mean, he was a tremendous player, but he's got to stay on the court, and he's got to stop with this complex.
If Danny Ainge sees the opportunity to move him because he's becoming a weakness or becoming whatever, he'll do it. I mean, he'll be cold-blooded about it. So.
He liked ball, right? Imagine trading him back to the league. That should be the NBA GM. Just keep trading him to LeBron.
But yeah, I mean, I think the Celtics are going to win the East.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. They're gonna win the East. And
I'm a big Jaylen Brown fan. I think. I mean, we talked about a wealthy version of Mo Williams. I think Jaylen Brown is a wealty version of Tony Allen. I think he's a very wealthy version of Tony Allen.
I mean, he's a really good offensive player, though. I mean, you never saw that coming. Yeah, they're just so deep. And then the craziest part is, no matter how deep they are, Jason Tatum is like heads and shoulders the best player on their team already, which is shocking.
Yeah, I think I would take them to win the East, even if they weren't getting Hayward and Kyrie Irving back.
Yeah.
So.
Oh my God, yeah, he's unbelievable. Looks like he's coming on a future.
I think the only thing that could hurt them is themselves.
Yeah.
If there's something that goes wrong internally.
Yeah.
Which I don't really think that Brad Stevens and Danny Ainge tolerate that. So even if it surfaces, it'll be snuffed out pretty quickly.
It's amazing. Charlotte is a 35.5. They've just really fallen into this mediocrity zone. But they got Tony Parker. That was so weird.
I would say under on that one, just because I could see things going badly, and then them trading Kemba Walker, and then yeah, exactly. They start trading guys away, and then all of a sudden they lose like 20 out of like 23 games to finish the season or something like that.
Yeah, they're just not a... And they got Bismack Biyombo's salary. Who did they send away?
Mozgov.
Right. Mozgov. Bismack Biyombo.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not a...
I had breakfast with Bismack Biyombo once.
Really?
I did, yeah.
In Africa?
No, in New York.
Wow. Does he have like a British accent?
Can't remember, actually. Very nice man.
Yeah,
very nice guy.
They're just not a great looking team. And maybe that's why they got Tony Parker, so they could trade Walker, right?
Yeah, maybe.
But man, I see that Malik Monk second in the depth chart behind Jeremy Lamb. It's like, that's not good. That's not good for a top pick. Chicago, 28.5 after winning 27 last year, does the addition of
Jabari
Parker mean only 2 more wins? A lot of people were down on this because they're like, oh, it could get in the way of the other players. I like the move a lot. You get a 2-year flyer on Jabari Parker.
It's a 1 year, isn't it? I mean, it's a
it's a 2-year
team option. But I think team option is second year, so you can.
Yeah, I think there were a lot of those this offseason, a lot of 2-year big money deals where it's basically a 1 year plus.
Yeah, they're going to be fun to watch because Lauri Markkanen was really good. I guess that might be too offensive at the forward position when you're thinking of Parker and Markkanen. Was Markkanen? I didn't even know if I noticed his defense very much. He must be able to hold it in there pretty well. But you got Robin Lopez as a center, so he's a defender, and then Wendell Carter Jr. They're going to be.
I would take the over on that.
Yeah. I think Chris Dunn might have come along pretty well.
And also Levine will then be a year further removed from his injury. I mean, I'm just saying he's an athlete who can contribute.
I don't love that deal, but they got boxed into it. They had to give it.
Yeah, but I'm just talking about as far as them getting over 27 or 28 wins. I mean, I think that they have a lot of things going for them that gets them past that number.
Wouldn't it be interesting if Fred Hoiberg ends up outlasting Thibodeau? That Thibodeau gets fired from Minnesota before
you're
Hoiberg
better off underwhelming.
Well, remember, like everyone thought Hoiberg was gone last summer, but he stuck around.
And they're going to have to just right the injustice of Antonius Cleveland playing on the Bulls. Just gotta fix that. Moving on to the next team, who is Cleveland. What a bummer this team is. Whew. We talked about what LeBron means. He means about 20 wins because they have them at a 30.5. And I don't know if I would go on the over because the sad part with this team, they really don't have anybody who anyone wants. Even though LeBron raised up a lot of these guys, it's going to be the Kevin Love show. It's going to be a lot like those Minnesota days, I think.
But they could have a possible Rookie of the Year on their team.
That's right.
I really like Colin Sexton. Not just because he looked good in Summer League, but he was good in college. You know, he's got a junkyard dog mentality.
It's a little wild.
Yeah.
Defensive.
And I think he'll get an opportunity. I mean, a lot of times when I look at Rookie of the Year, I say who's going to get a lot of minutes. I mean, even if George Hill's healthy, I still think that Sexton's going to wind up getting a lot of minutes.
How amazing is it on this team that their big deals last year, on a team who's projected to win maybe 30, are second on the depth chart? Jordan Clarkson is second behind J.R. Smith, and Larry Nance is obviously second behind Kevin Love. It's just funny when you make that deal.
Did they resign Rodney Hood? I know
he's not with anybody, I don't think.
I don't think they officially signed him.
No.
This is the problem. Well, it's not a problem. It can be a positive, but it's a double-edged sword playing with LeBron because he can either expose just like a knife through butter how bad you are in many ways, or if you find a way, like I saw the Channing Frye quote where he was talking about those guys better get ready. Yeah, he's back in Cleveland.
Back in Cleveland.
That's funny. It was great. But I like because he wants to keep doing that podcast. Yeah, that's all it is. I'm telling you. He was like, yeah, I'll get minutes because the coach. No, it's like you want to keep doing your show, which I give you credit for. Whatever. I mean, he'll be good. He's a good presence on a team, and he's a trade piece at some point to a degree. Maybe he'll go back to
Phoenix,
to L.A.
Oh yeah.
But he was saying that you have to find your role and stick to it, and then thrive in that role. You will not be a multifaceted player with LeBron. Get used to that. That might have been the problem for Kyrie Irving too, because he can do so much. But those guys were not ready, and it's crazy because right after the trade, they did seem like they had the high of playing with him. They're hitting threes, they're doing all this, and then it was like, oh. And it's funny, as much as the mistake he made in Game 1, J.R. Smith is a perfect example of someone who found a way to play with LeBron and really be a positive. I mean, he did. He had big shots over the years with him. And J.R. Smith is actually kind of an underrated player. I mean, he's got a lot of skills, but he's just a goofball on top of it. See, like in New York a couple of weeks ago, he like took a kid's phone and threw it into a construction site. Don't take his picture.
And he and my dad went to the same high school.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. The poor Cavs. There's nothing sadder than post Cleveland games. I mean, post LeBron Cleveland games, like that period when he was in Miami. Cleveland gets dark, and it's always dark. But LeBron just raises it up.
I am interested to see Sexton play with Love.
Sexton Love.
That's not what I meant. Just to see, do they do a pick and roll, or is this a case where Sexton is just, up and down the court, and Love
do a
isn't
sex
necessarily
love, pick and pop.
Yeah, does his game mesh with Love's, or is Love going to bring out the best in Sexton and vice versa, or is it just going to be two sort of mismatched styles?
My guess is the Cavs are going to be like 9-3 to start the season, because they have sort of, it's like the chicken with the head getting cut off, it still runs. They're going to be primed to show that there's still a team that can play. And they have the remnants of a team, you know, if you think Love, some of these players who were in the round, who won a championship, and they're going to be able to catch some teams off early because they're going to be so focused on doing that. Love is going to look amazing, and then they're going to regress to the mean. And it's going to be sad because people are, you know, they're going to be in Cleveland. The Indians might be making a run. The Browns might be good this year. We'll see about that. We got a podcast later on down the road to see that. But I think it's all going to come kind of crashing down.
So the Cavs are going to be the Mets, you're saying? They're going to start at 11-1 and then fall apart.
That's the worst. That's what ruined the season for me, for the Mets, is they had to go ahead and do that. Ugh. And then like the salt, they acted like winners and then they lost. That is exactly right. That's how the Cavs are going to be. Dallas is a 34.5. As I said, they won 24 last year. They're 34.5. That is a bad team that won 24, and to be 10.5 games expected up and you're still only at 35.5. I'm going to be honest. I don't think I know a thing really about Doncic. I've heard people talk. I've read about him. I haven't really watched his highlights. I got to see a guy. I got to see him. I'll watch him hardcore when he gets in there, but I can't.
I think we can spend a lot of time on their other rookie then, which is Jalen Brunson.
That's right. Fourth
National
on the depth
Player
chart.
of the Year.
Devin Harris
Brunson
is back.
And they added DeAndre Jordan.
They did. They finally got him back.
4 years later.
Yeah.
I think it's only 3 years.
Oh, 3 years later.
Right?
Yeah, it feels like 4.
I know, doesn't it? God, that time feels so long ago.
I don't know how well his game is going to age.
I don't think very well.
Yeah.
Unless he finds a way to hit threes.
Yeah.
Dirk is still there.
West.
I don't know how this team gets above 30. To be honest, I don't know how they're more than 35.5. Than 34.5. Because there's just too many of the players are going in the wrong direction. I feel like Harrison Barnes, he's probably only 26, but he feels like he's 36. Wesley Matthews, that's one of those, like, I'm not sure you want to sign the guy right after that injury.
This is his last year on that deal, right? I think.
Must be.
So he might get traded. He might be a trade piece.
Yeah.
Is he good anymore, though? He's really not that good anymore.
I mean, the injuries have taken a toll on him.
As a fellow Achilles rupture survivor, I do take offense.
Well, we'll have to see how it happens with Cousins. We'll get there, obviously. But, yeah, I'm going to go on the under, I think. I'm not the Dennis Smith Jr., Luka Doncic thing. I don't know if Dennis Smith Jr. is good.
I would still take the under. I think you're right. 10 wins is a lot, considering, I don't know if DeAndre Jordan moves the needle that much, and we don't know enough about the rookie at this point.
Denver. This is an interesting one. They won 46. We watched it right here the last time we did a podcast when they lost in that final game to Minnesota. They won 46, and they're at 47.5. They should be on the over on that, because if they don't make the playoffs this year, and they would probably need to be on the over of 47.5 to do that, that's a real failure. The way those guys were playing together, it should be the next step. Plus, I think adding Isaiah Thomas, if he's really saying he's better, could be interesting, or he could be a mercenary. He can either be a non-Hodgkins, or what's the other one? the good one or the bad one? I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Was it cancer? But yeah, they're just that team, and then they got to get Paul Millsap. He's got to be healthy the whole year.
I was going to say, if you have a full year of Paul Millsap, you would think that would get them on the over and into the playoffs.
Kind of has to, right?
Yeah, I mean, you would think.
Yeah, they're sort of too talented a roster, and age is getting up there. They've got some years on these guys. They should really get there.
I like their backcourt: Gary Harris, Jamal Murray, and you've got Nikola Jokic. He just signed a big deal, big extension. So they've got some youth in there with some of the older guys.
Yeah, they should really be on the over. And then I think Malone coached Isaiah Thomas, right?
In Sacramento.
Yes, yeah.
In Sacramento.
They re-signed Will Barton, too.
They did. So I'm going to say over because I think they have to be. Otherwise, it's going to be a bad scene. Talking about a bad scene, Detroit, who won 39 and they're expected 37.5.
Welcome, Dwayne Casey.
They swung for the fences and they struck out. There's just this is the bad bank. Let's put all the players over here. It was amazing how prescient the Clippers were about Blake Griffin, and I would have been very careful being Detroit. When you have a team in the Clippers who had this guy his whole career, signed him to the enormous deal, put his jersey up in the rafters, and were ready to trade him that quick, it's kind of like a pitcher, you know? Why are they getting out from under him so quick?
The Clippers found the right team to trade with, just like Danny Ainge found Billy King.
Yeah, Stan Van Gundy was a desperate GM.
Yeah. And he's gone, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he's gone.
It's crazy how these guys are able to make that deal and sort of like ruin the team's future while you're trying to save your own job.
There's not much I like about Detroit.
Nothing, right?
I'm sure that Stan Van Gundy sold Tom Gores on the idea of here's a marketable superstar, and then we add him with Andre Drummond, and we'll beat all these teams going old school with, bludgeoning them in the paint and all that. And I'm sure that, the owner doesn't know enough, so he signs off on it, and here we are.
It was like the type of trade you make in like the early 90s or the 80s.
Yeah.
When no one actually sees the other guys, but they know of them.
Yeah.
It was like no NBA
This is Chris
League
Webber
pass.
to the Sixers. Yeah. That's what this is.
Oh, my God. And then you look at like Luke Kennard, who was their main pick. Who did they not draft?
Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, he would have been
he went the pick after.
He would have been as good on this team as Carmelo might have been instead of Darko. Yeah. Oof, that's really bad. Yeah, they're just...
Yeah, it's bleak.
It's really bad.
That's not good.
Yeah, 30. Oh, my God. 37. Yeah, I don't think... Could Blake Griffin get traded again?
Who wants that contract?
Not with that money. I don't think so.
2 years, maybe, with 3 years.
He's going to finish out his years in Birmingham, Michigan. Ugh. I mean, it was a nice place, but... Wow. Golden State. Here we go. So they are... Let's see what our numbers are for them. So they won 58, which was a really underwhelming 58, and they're at 63.5. I'm afraid to go on the over on that, even though they should just do it in their sleep, but everyone said that last year.
I would take the under.
I'd probably take the under, I think, because they don't need to be on the over.
Yeah, exactly. Cousins isn't going to play for most of the year, and I think they'll probably be in cruise control until the playoffs come. So,
but does him like coming back and then them playing for him almost, like maybe that gets them... He's hitting threes now, too.
Yeah,
he is.
I didn't mind that. I thought that was a smart move on his part. No one was coming after him, much like we were talking about with Wesley Matthews when for some reason they signed him to a long-term deal coming off that. People were smartly not going after him, even though I think that was an overplay. I think the Lakers should have, although maybe he's coming back too late in the season where it really matters for them.
Yeah, I think a lot of teams were scared off by the fact that you're going to miss him for 55, 60 games.
Yeah, I marvel. Golden State is just...
Golden State has the luxury of waiting. Most teams don't have that luxury.
They're just going to bring in like the best download presence in the league.
Yeah.
Like a trade deadline hit. I mean, it's amazing. And they're going to get him a ring and a good deal. It's just, you look at someone building something the right way. Playing at the margins at the right time, inflection points. Like
I felt that if let's just go back to a world where Cousins doesn't get injured, he's still on the Pelicans, and somehow the Pelicans face Golden State in the second round of last year's playoffs. I think that Pelicans team could have given that Golden State team some trouble.
For some reason, I didn't think that, and a lot of people did think how you felt. I never liked... Great players make things work. I mean, much like we saw with LeBron and Wade and Bosh. I mean, Bosh was different than them, but they were all sort of very... It didn't make sense to kind of build your team around that, except if they're the best players in the league. I think it worked for the Pelicans because they were top players at the position, but it was weird to watch at times. You know, like the high-low
I think that's the
action
one
they
series where that they could have given...
Yeah,
Golden State some trouble.
I agree with Tim, because I don't know how they would have guarded both of them.
Yeah.
Because they're a small team to
but
begin
they would have
with.
exposed them on offense so much, though.
I don't know. I think they would have bulldozed him underneath, and they could have. I think it would have been tough.
I would have wanted to see it. Let's just put it that way. I don't necessarily predict them winning, but I think that it would have been an interesting matchup.
Yeah, I mean, you just look at that. The Warriors run there. Did you guys feel any better about the Warriors this year?
I'm sort of ambivalent about them. In general.
Yeah. That's the perfect.
You don't
word
enjoy
for
watching them?
I do. Yeah, they're fun to watch. They're interesting to watch, but I don't like them as much as. I mean, when they won in 2015, that was
an achievement.
It was fun. It was different. It was. I don't dislike them.
It's kind of like it was like Thanos getting all the rings, right? The Infinity Stones or whatever. Like when they got now that they have Boogie, it's like.
I don't dislike them. I mean, I like Steve Kerr and what they put together, but yeah, I mean, I'm sort of ambivalent about them.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. David West, is he coming back or do you retire? He's on their depth chart.
I think he's back.
He's gonna be. I mean, like,
why not?
Just like their depth, it's almost like you can't take it for granted. It's insane. Point guard: Steph Curry, Sean Livingston, Quinn Cook. Like Quinn Cook is the weak link, and yet he took the shot that could have won in Game 5, right? Wasn't it the one he missed it at the very end when they came all the way back? Yeah, it was a home court series, so it had to be Game 5. It was a home court series for Houston, and it was in Houston.
Yeah, I don't know which game it was.
Yeah, it was Game 5.
I remember this shot. I just don't remember which game it was.
Klay Thompson, Patrick McCaw. I don't know, Jacob Evans. Kevin Durant, Andre Iguodala, Draymond Green, Kevin Looney, David West. Jonas Jerebko is on this team now. It's like DeMarcus Cousins, Jordan Bell, David. I mean, it's...
Yeah, I mean, when they're going to the season worried about like a drop-off from Andre Iguodala, possibly. I mean, they're okay.
It's absolutely
If that's
amazing.
the biggest problem you have, you're going to be okay.
It's amazing. Next up, Houston Rockets, who I think figured it out. They hacked the system, they figured it out, and then they lost it all now. So they won 65, and now they're at 55.5. And I buy that. I think they might be on the under. They might win like 54. You can't trust. You're going to go the whole season in the back of your head knowing I can't trust Chris Paul. You know, and then they're going to say...
Or Carmelo Anthony.
Oh, God, yeah. Look at there.
With Coach Mike D'Antoni.
But he did great, and I liked it. What D'Antoni was doing, I thought was...
No, I'm saying D'Antoni coaching Carmelo Anthony again.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. But, like, Chris Paul, they're saying, just have him play 30. I hate when you walk into a season with restrictions.
Yeah.
I hate when it's like, if you just play him that, you'll be fine. Because you get to the playoffs, I'm sorry, you got to play a lot of minutes.
Yeah.
And his hamstring it's not even like, and then just to see him on they were going to beat them. I know a lot of people say, they would have come back. And look, attrition is a part of the league. The Warriors have had to deal with that themselves. But, man, the worst time attrition can hit, because they had Golden State on the ropes. But they got Michael Carter Williams backing him up now.
That was some offseason.
James Ennis could be interesting, but it's still not. I hate that they lost Ariza, because I think he's perfect on this team. They got Carmelo. Is he going to start? Should he start? I don't.
He really shouldn't start. Really what he should do is come off the bench, and then you can have him play with one of the guards, but not both of them, and then he can still get his touches, and he can still be a volume shooter without taking the ball handling away from one of them. But he probably won't want that. So
the problem is I think he was extremely exposed last year. It was almost like being in the East, not being in playoff contention, preserved a thought we had about him, and you weren't watching him in big moments, really. And then when he got to Oklahoma City, it was like big games were happening all the time. They sort of had to play hard to get to where they did. And I know he's going to say, I got dropped on the team right at the beginning. We couldn't even work me in. It's like, great players, that's not how that works. I
feel
think
like
he's shot.
If he were to accept a certain role, I think he could still be productive in that role. But he still thinks of himself as the number one option. And I don't think he's going to be willing to accept a diminished role.
It's like Matt Harvey. Like, he should be a closer. And he might only have the stuff to be a closer now. Or a long reliever or a short, spot reliever. But he's like, no, I'm a starting pitcher. This is what I grew up doing. This is how I do. And to be fair, his game only works if he's a starting pitcher, because he needs to be able to struggle in the first inning to then get his groove. So, like, to expect him to be a microwave, which he should be. That's why I just wouldn't want him. I wouldn't. I think it's going to go really badly. He might get bought out.
Which is which is why their number went from 65 to 55.
Can they trade him to Cincinnati? I don't know. Yeah. But I was so impressed. I was just so blown away by that team that Morey built this team that went toe-to-toe with Golden State in 1 year. Like, Golden State got the most unfair player on already a most unfair team. And Daryl Morey was able to figure out the mix that was just as good as them for that moment in time. Indiana's another team who almost gave LeBron the great scare in the first series.
They should be good this year.
They were 48 last year, and they were 47 this year. The only reason they'd be under is because people now know they're coming.
Yeah.
But they're a very good team. They got Tariq Evans. They got Aaron Holiday in the draft, right?
Yeah, and Doug McDermott.
McDermott they got Kyle Quinn.
Yeah, they had a good offseason. I really like Aaron Holiday.
Yeah, they're just a nice team. Like, nobody wants their players, really, but their own team is really good.
I give Nate McMillan credit. He's actually done a better job than I expected. I mean, when they got rid of
Vogel
and brought him in.
And Larry Bird was right. Because, like, Vogel was maybe riding on the coattails of a really good roster. And then we looked at the roster, and we were like, no, I think Frank Vogel's getting the most out of it. And then Larry Bird's like, no, I don't think so. And then they go and trade the best player. Did Nate McMillan, was he there a year with Paul George?
He was.
Yeah. Okay. And he had them pretty competitive. I mean, they got swept in that first round to Cleveland, but they were
competitive in those games.
All competitive games. And then for Paul George to want out and then to get this deal and then for everyone to be like, I don't know about that deal. It was really good because Victor Oladipo is like an all-NBA player now.
Yeah.
And Sabonis is good.
Yeah, Sabonis is good.
He is good. So they could be over. They should be, I guess, in the little bit diminished East now. They got a nice team for the East.
I can see them being a 4th seed.
The Clippers. As I said, this entire roster is just like, it's like donor organs waiting to go to recipients.
Well, they basically set up their whole roster for 2019. You know, again, it's like the Lakers, like the Nets, they have all these guys expiring, and that's the way they want it. They want to chase 2 free agents the following summer.
But you remember in the past, was it like the 50s or 60s when in baseball, they would always say that Kansas City was like the holding place for the Yankees?
Oh, yeah, it was their farm team.
Yeah, it was their farm team, but it wasn't, right? It was actually a Major League team. So I think LA is literally built to farm players to Houston. Patrick Beverly, Avery Bradley, Lou Williams, Luka Mbamute again, Marcin Gortat, Montrezl Harrell. Like, their whole roster is like, come on, Houston, come get us. And
yeah, Beverly would be a good fit there.
He would. Several of these guys, like, we know they'd be good there. Avery Bradley would be great there.
Yeah, you're right.
We know Lou Williams, and they kind of have pretty good contracts. All these guys too. We talked to so they were the hard thing with prognosticating them is you don't even know that their team. Yeah, no one's expecting their team to stay around. They won 42 last year. It's 35.5. So I wouldn't even touch it because I don't know who's coming or going. Tim's team, Memphis,
over
22, and now they're 33.5. They kind of have to be over unless they're trading guys. And honestly, who's going to take Mike Conley or Marc Gasol? Is that a Laker move, by the way?
I could see Gasol being moved.
Gasol going.
What about both of them?
Well, Conley's still got a lot of money, doesn't he?
Still has a lot of money, and I don't think they want a point guard with his money at his age.
Coming off that injury.
Is he really that old?
He's 31.
I love how you know it. Like,
yeah, I would say he's around 30. Yeah. I think you're in the ballpark.
He's 30. He'll be 31
30.
This year. He's not that. I mean, it's famous last words, but he.
Look, I'm a huge Mike Conley fan. But, the question is, does anyone need Mike Conley? What team would you, like, what?
They're like quarterbacks. It's like no one really needs quarterbacks.
Yeah, does anyone need Mike Conley? I don't know. I don't think so.
I feel like that'd be a question for Dolan J. Trump, like with the Knicks. That would be like a Knicks move where they splurge one night, get the credit card out. We're taking Conley and Gasol, and we're making a playoff run this year. Kevin Knox, get on the bench.
So I think they'll be close to 33 wins.
As you said, holy shit, Marshawn Brooks is still in the league.
Yes, I did not
He is on
expect
Memphis.
that.
He's only 30.
Well, he came back after the season in China, and
is that what happened?
he actually played really well. I mean, he scored a lot. So, I mean, he had a stretch where he was scoring like over 20 a night. I mean, again, they were ravaged by injury, and they were sort of just playing out the string. But he actually factored pretty prominently toward the end of the season there.
And they have Jaren Jackson, who was the number, was it 3? Something like that? Right around
Four.
top.
Four.
Yeah. And then
Also,
there's Omri Caspi. It's so weird that didn't work out with the Warriors.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
So I would be... I actually might go under. I could see them going 32.
Really?
Yeah. As much as I love them.
You know what's funny? This guy who's on their depth chart at point guard, Javon Carter, he played at West Virginia.
Yep.
Where I go to coffee in the morning, the guy who works at Google is from West Virginia. And like, I think from everything he tells me about this guy, I think he's going to be a player. He's going to be like one of these defensive hounding players, like a Tony Allen type. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know if he's going to make it. Looks like he had some kind of surgery, right thumb. But like he gets on guys. He's like the poor man's Colin Sexton.
That is the hallmark of a West Virginia team. Tough defense.
Press Virginia.
Press Virginia. Yeah, they might be pretty good, but they also could have a period of time where you go, whoa, if you kind of scope this out to the future, this is like a 45-win team.
Yeah,
but
back up.
The guys are going to be injured.
They're over. I revise.
They're going to be, but the guys are going to be injured. That's the problem. Several of these guys could be injured.
Like Chandler Parsons.
Yeah, exactly right.
Oh, jeez.
The Heat are not a team I'm interested in at all. They won 44, and they're at 41.5.
They've got a lineup whose ceiling is like the 7th seed. I mean, they spent all this money to put together a team that's going to top out at.
They're sort of like the net ceiling.
Yeah.
with the money they got there. Yeah, it's like, I mean, they don't even have Justice Winslow in the top starting position on this depth chart. They don't have any, like, they don't even have players you want. I mean, I guess you want Goran Dragic if you're like the Spurs or something. No one wants Tyler Johnson, Deion Waiters. I mean, Wayne Ellington. Like, no one wants these guys.
The weather's nice.
Hassan Whiteside. No, I'd love to play there. These guys are getting a great life. Hassan Whiteside and like complaining to the team every day while he's making $100 and something million. Oh God. Oh man. They're just, I don't know. I might go on the under for them. Although it's hard because Spoelstra he always gets the most.
What's their number?
41.5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's probably right at what gets you 7 or 8. So
Milwaukee. Ooh, that's an interesting.
Yeah,
one. They're 144 and they're 46.5.
They should be a fun team. I like the Lopez pickup.
It's weird how he finally got there.
Yeah.
And Final Four MVP Dante DiVincenzo.
That's true. To play along with Matthew Dellavedova. Problem I have with the Bucks, they're gonna rue the day when Giannis leaves. I know he's like, I love it here. This is my life. Where he came from, but he's going to leave, and they're gonna rue the day that they put a starting lineup together of Eric Bledsoe, Malcolm Brogdon, Chris Middleton, and Brook Lopez at this point. It was John Henson. Thon Maker is like 3rd on the depth chart. Tyler Zeller 4th. This is not a good team. It just isn't a good team. And Giannis has them at a 46.5 over-under. You can't get guys to play in Milwaukee. It's sort of the LeBron conundrum of playing in Cleveland. No one wants to play there, but then every time players get traded there, they're like, oh, it's a great place to live and play. Jason Kidd, oh, it's a great place. My ass. The minute he was let go, he bought a house in Paradise Valley and put his house up on the market. You love it so much, stay there. No one wants to be in Milwaukee in the winter. It's a shame.
I like Milwaukee.
I know, but you don't want to live there in the winter. And all these Nets people went there in the business side.
Mike Budenholzer wanted to be in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
That was a guy.
That could be the big pickup.
That's true. But the roster is just... I honestly believe we're going to look back and go, yeah, that's why he left. Just like when we look back at these old LeBron first time in Cleveland rosters. It's just not a very good roster. They got Ersan Ilyasova backing him up. I guess they're going to be over, but I don't like the team at all. Eric Bledsoe lost so much. I thought that was a good trade, and it was like, didn't he say, like, I don't even know who that guy is in the playoffs? Who was that about?
Oh, Terry Rozier.
Yeah. He's like, who?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. How about you find out who that is? I'm going to go on the under because I don't even want to see that roster. The Pelicans, Tim's other team. They won.
How did that become my other team?
He loves New Orleans. He goes to all these bachelor parties.
I do.
There.
And weddings.
And there was a lot of movies there when they had the tax credit. No one shoots movies there.
Too. I love Girls Trip.
New Orleans was 48 last year, and there are 44 this year.
I think they're going to be over.
I don't.
I like the Julius Randle pickup.
I think this is just like Giannis. You should be able to get players to go play there. Although it was a joke. Was it Simmons who was like, LeBron should go to New Orleans. He should play with LeBron. Is not living in New Orleans. It's like, come on, he's not living in New Orleans. But I don't like their team either. If it's very similar with Milwaukee to me. We're gonna look and be like, God, Elfrid Payton was their big pickup. You know, Drew Holiday showed you something, but just the way they went down in that second round was, and I know it was to Golden State, but the way they went down just didn't give you any hope into this year after they took down Portland. Eton Moore is your starter. Solomon Hiller's third, and these guys are all making money. Mirotic was good. They got Julius Randle now.
I like Drew Holiday.
He's good. Jahlil Okafor is on this team now. I don't know. I think find a way to get Giannis and him together to commiserate. I don't like these rosters at all. I'm going to go on. I would go on the under with that one. Call me crazy. Because I think Anthony Davis can be phenomenal. And in the West, where 80% of the All-NBA players play, and you're I think they're the farthest east, right? Of any team in the West.
Where's Memphis?
Oh, it's possible.
Yeah,
they're probably pretty. They might be a little, but like that's brutal travel on top of it. So I don't know. I'm not.
But beignets.
I'm not into that. Although the coach saved his job, though.
Yes,
for the moment.
Gentry.
Then we got. Who's next on our list? The Knicks. Dolan J. Trump. They won 29. And they're at 30.
Are we Skyping him in for this?
Wake up the kids. So they're fun. You know, they got some fun stuff to watch if Porzingis is playing, and he's not going to play for a while.
Their number's 30.
30.
I would take the under.
Yeah, I would probably take the under.
Just
too.
because I feel like
they'll be hot early a little bit.
Yeah, and they're going to get to a point where they're going to start playing for a draft pick. I mean, Porzingis probably won't play all year. They'll probably get to a point where they won't be in contention, so they'll figure why even bring him back.
You don't think they'll bring him?
Well, I mean, he blew out his knee in February, so I mean, he's 7'3". You know, they're probably going to want to be cautious with that. And by the time he would come back, they probably won't be contending for a playoff spot. So they'd probably be pretty cautious.
Yeah, I mean, the only move that the current regime has made, with which I disagree, is Hardaway Jr.,
who was very good.
He was, but not at that price.
Yeah.
Everyone was that price. That's the problem.
And
Alan Crabb was that price.
I think when you look at, I mean, here's a question: is like, I know they got some grief for not taking Dennis Smith Jr. I still think they made the better pick, long term.
With Ntilikina?
Yeah, and
not
agree.
Donovan Mitchell though. Was that the same draft?
Yeah, it was the same draft.
He'd be home too.
Well, the one thing Ntilikina is going for him is that he was rated as the best pick-and-roll defender for a guard through the defensive metrics. So, I mean, he does something very well. He is a good defender. It's just finding a niche.
Remember I said I think he's the defensive Jamal Crawford.
You know what, though? There's something about the way he plays that's wiser than his years, though, too. Like, he's very...
Well, European players tend to be that
I know,
way.
but yes. But I mean, he's so young. He looks really comfortable out there. So I think the offense is going to come. Because I think the offense has to come. It was like a bunch of years ago in baseball after the Moneyball thing, and then they tried to find the next Moneyball stats. Mm-hmm. And obviously they went to like OPS plus all this stuff and the pitching ones, but the one they tried to do that completely failed was the defensive metrics. Mm-hmm. And they're like, Seattle's like the most historic. They got Indy Chavez. They're the most historic defensive metric team ever. They're gonna stop everybody. They're gonna save so many runs, and they couldn't win because no one could play offense. Mm-hmm. So I don't like focusing on just like, I want a guy who's a two-way player. Mm-hmm. and I'll appreciate the defense, but I don't like when they're defensive players and then they all, then they can like hit a shot sometimes. But I think he'll get there because he seems skilled and very.
He's still super young too, so I mean, I would give him some time.
That point guard lineup is crazy though. Trey Burke, Frank Ntilikina, Emmanuel Mudiay, Kadeem Allen, Ron Baker. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah, I think Kevin Knox is going to wind up being one of the better players on that team. He's another guy that I could see in the Rookie of the Year conversation just because they're going to play him 36 to 38 minutes a night.
I really want to see him right away in the NBA game because he was impressive in the Summer League. A lot of his points. Now, I do want to be fair and say that when I watched to see if he did more than what I'm going to say, he did do it to a degree. But a lot of it was like Kenyon Martin type at the rim, dunking, transition, finding ways to just overpower people at the rim, which is great. But in today's game at that high pick, you kind of got to have more going. And he did hit some threes. So I want to see, it didn't seem like he's a very good dribbler.
What impressed me was his ability to get to the free throw line. So I feel like there was a way for him to score even if he wasn't necessarily hitting a shot. He had the dexterity, I guess you could say, to make guys foul him. And he forced his way to the rim. So I like that. He shot it better than I guess I was expecting. I feel like everyone always says he's a better shooter than what he's shown in the games. I mean,
I think so.
Hopefully at some point for him that translates to the games.
Yeah, I think with him, the hardest part when you're watching Summer League is there's so many Knicks fans who have had nothing to cheer about forever that sometimes they'll flood like your social media and you're like, oh my God, this is like the best player in the league. And it's like you want to then see him with your eyes actually in the season of an NBA game to see
how
much he translates. Yeah. So they'll probably be right about there for another year. Who is their coach again?
David Fizdale.
Fizdale, that's right. So that could be. I hope he doesn't fizz out.
Like Memphis.
Then we got the Oklahoma City Thunder. 48 wins last year, 49.5 this year. It shows you
over
how much Carmelo brought them down. Now the addition of Andre Roberson at some point is one of those. Well, Dennis Schroeder as a backup point guard is interesting. Moving Raymond Felton to the third level. The thing with Andre Roberson, you hate. Like I always hated this. I remember we talked about this back with the Nets. I hated how much Sean Livingston meant to that team of supposed superstars, where it was like, we're just waiting for Sean Livingston to get back because it's like, no, you have like 4 guys who are like tremendous players. Don't wait for, what do you mean? And that annoyed me, but he seems to be like one of those guys.
He was a great defender too.
I know he is, but I hate that it's like he's gone, oh my God, what are we going to do? We only have 3 former All-NBA players. But he'll be back at some point. I don't know, what are they saying here? He's progressed to running on a treadmill, so that could be good or bad.
What is that, like Jonas Cespedes? He's progressed to ground activities?
Oh, my God. I can only want to hear that one. Yeah, so they should be above because I think lifting the cloud of Carmelo means a win and a half.
And I think also the fact that they've now been together a year, Westbrook and George, him deciding to come back, I think that'll be good for morale and all that. And I think they'll take that next step. So I would take over.
Him coming back means that it wasn't as bad as it looked.
Yeah.
I think that's a good key because it looked bad. All right, coming down the pike here. Orlando.
Whatever it is, it's under.
So they won 25, and they're at 31.5.
Good luck, Steve Clifford.
Oh, God, Steve Clifford. It's just like, all this is just like reorganizing chairs on the Titanic. Oh. And he had health issues. Like, don't jump at the first job if it's Orlando. I know you want to live there. He coached there at one point, right? Understanding. It's just like, come on. Next stop is Detroit for this guy. Come on. Yeah, they are just... Oh, my God.
I just don't know if they understand how to put together a roster.
Yeah, I was going to say, they've got a lot of pieces that don't really seem to fit.
Yeah, it's not unlike Sacramento in some ways. Although, I think Sacramento's better off than they are.
Poor man Sacramento.
No, it's the income tax list Sacramento.
So they get rid of Bismack Biyombo, rightly for the money, and then bring in Mohamed Bamba, who's like, sort of plays the same way. I mean, this team is just awful.
Well, Bamba hopefully is a lot better than Biombo for Orlando's sake.
Yeah, it's just... And Aaron Gordon signed, and it's like...
Maybe Jonathan Isaac comes back healthy. But, I mean, again, all the pieces don't really fit. He's sort of like the same position as Aaron Gordon. So
it sort of feels like, in the Premier League, they have that relegation league. Like, they feel like one of the teams who's in the relegation league, and you're just waiting for them to play up to get into the next level. Like the Philadelphia 76ers, who are at a 54.5 after winning 52. And I felt like they stretched. And they won like 16 in a row to get to 52. I would say under as well. It's almost like, the odds makers are too smart. They usually know something here. But 54.5 is quite a stretch. You are expecting Markelle Fultz to contribute a lot, even though he's second in the he's second point guard here behind Ben Simmons. They got JJ Redick back. Zaire Smith is supposed to be the big deal, but he's injured. He's going to be out sometime. They got Wilson Chandler finally out of Denver. Saric, Mike Muscala, was he there the whole time?
No, he was in Atlanta. He was part of that 3-team deal that involved Schroeder and...
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I think there's a regression this year a little bit in the regular season. Doesn't mean they're going to be like 40 wins. They might be 50.
I could see them winning like 47, 48
Which
games.
would kind of be a failure a little bit.
Yeah.
After what they did last year, getting to the second round, kind of falling on their face, and you expect them to come back from that.
They did have some upheaval in the offseason. They basically were rudderless for about 6 weeks.
Very Trumpian. The whole thing with the tweets and the who did it and like chain of custody of communications.
Yeah. I'm going to go under too. I just don't. I think they're going to take a step back. I think they lost some depth that they're going to miss, and I think they're counting on a lot of advancement by Markelle Fultz to make up for what they lost.
He has to, too. And I'll tell you what, it was almost like when he played, we were being sold that what we were watching was much better than what we were watching. He didn't blow me away when he got on the court. Like, he was as energetic as a 20-year-old should be, and he would, like, make some passes, and he'd make some layups.
He would injure his best player.
Yeah. Yes.
That's true.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't... It was sort of like the TV broadcast was trying to pump him up so that when he watched the tape later, he'd be like, oh, it wasn't that bad. That was pretty good. It's weird, like what you saw there. And then him not really getting any playing time in the playoffs was like totally weird.
Also, them not sending him to Summer League after not playing because they didn't want him like working on his shot in game situations. Like the whole thing is just very... The whole thing is very cryptic.
Yeah.
Game situations. We just want this grainy practice footage photo.
Yeah, they want him like working with the shooting coach in an empty gym. I don't know.
Oh my God!
Isn't that what got Yee drafted in the lottery? When he played against chairs.
Oh man! Like right after, it's like a startup. Like right after Yao, they're like, "Oh my God, it's Yao, but with a jump shot."
Look what he did to that steel chair.
He's an Asian who can move. He's a crazy rich Asian. Oh my God! Yeah. No, you're right though. They are going to miss Ilyasova and Bellinelli so much. They were everything to that.
Bellinelli was huge for them.
It was so big. They were calling the last second shots for him. And Simmons still can't shoot, and he's got to figure out what hand. There's a lot of debate about what hand he even shoots with. Yeah, they're gonna.
It's 50-50.
He's dating a Kardashian, right?
Is he?
I think so, right? Isn't he?
Yeah.
Because Jenner, right?
Yeah,
Kendall Jenner.
Kendall
She's
Jenner,
a Kardashian, or I guess no. she's not a Kardashian. She's from the same mom, right?
Yeah. So she's half a Kardashian.
but not the father, so it wouldn't be Kardashian. She's a Jenner. So I think we're all thinking under on that one. So the Suns coming down to the end here. This is a pretty big jump. 21 win team, 28.5, and I would actually weirdly say over with them. I think they might improve 10 wins.
Well, they did have a good offseason. They re-signed Booker. They added Ayton and
Mikal Bridges.
Yeah, I was going to say Tim's Villanova product.
Yeah, I think they're gonna, because Devin Booker is that good now that I think this will be the year where he actually raises up the other players.
And I think Ariza is a good presence to have around all those young guys.
Unlike Orlando, which doesn't seem to be able to put together a roster, I think Phoenix has assembled a pretty decent roster here for the modern NBA.
Devin Booker on the Suns feels like Giancarlo Stanton on the Marlins to me. I don't know why. But they have a lot of, I think they might make a 10-win jump. And they got the coach who was supposed to be Doncic's coach, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like they're going to get done. And then it's like, they didn't have, they had the chance to get it too. Yeah, Ayton's going to be interesting because he plays as free and easy as like Will Chamberlain, and he wears the same shorts too.
Wait, what are we talking? Are we talking about on the court or off the court?
Yeah, I don't know off the court.
It's free and easy as Will Chamberlain.
No, okay. Look, 60,000 women is not free and easy. Not for him. But yeah, I don't know. Did you guys watch Ayton much in college?
No.
When he wasn't being put on the bench for infractions.
I watched him a little bit in college. He was dominant, but again, he was a man compared to a lot of the guys he was playing with.
No, he's completely dominant. You just wonder where that is in the game anymore in some ways, you know? But yeah, I think they're going to... Booker, to me, is going to be the reason they ascend with him because he's now figured it out all for himself. It's time for him to bring the other guys up. It's crazy that Brandon Knight is still there as a starter. All of our favorite Portland. See, the thing for Portland is they're up there in the Northwest. No one really gets a chance to watch them, and they give you a feeling that magic exists because they just go on these runs and they win with this team that's sort of heavy in the backcourt, kind of like Washington, but an overwhelming Washington. And then it was all broken when they got to the playoffs. So I think they're just in a completely wacky spot where they might come out really slowly because they know that there's really nothing to ascend to. And they are at a...
That sounds magical.
Yeah.
Listen to this.
I'm depressed.
49 wins, and they got them at a 42. So Vegas is following that. Seth Curry is backing up Lillard. They got a Curry on the court here. Stauskas is with Portland now. Gary Trent Jr. Anthony Simons.
That makes me feel old because I remember when Gary Trent was drafted.
I know. I know. The Shaq of the Mac, right?
Yeah.
Al-Farouq Amino. Yeah, this is just they're a team that truly, went way over expectations. They're a 500 team. And let's get one of these guys traded to a team that they can really help. So I think, are we thinking, at 42, are we thinking under or over?
That's about right, actually, I think.
I'd probably say over if I had to pick one, because 43, 44.
Yeah. The Spurs. Oh, God, we have the fun ones still to go here. The Spurs are 47, obviously, last year. Interestingly enough,
46.
44 and a half. When they won 47 without Kawhi, they get a player who's going to play the whole season and be maybe, what do we say, 75% of Kawhi?
It's a bad 75%. I'm not bad.
I don't love Rosen. I loved him on that team. He was just completely maximized with Toronto.
We talked about this before the podcast. I feel like he and Aldridge occupy the same 5 feet on the floor, and that's where their game is.
And neither of them can stretch it.
And and that's. I don't think it's going to work out very well.
And I don't mean it in a bad way, but he was perfectly coddled in Toronto, where all the parts of his game that are not good were just kept away. And I think that I also believe he's going to have some trouble with Popovich. Popovich is a tough coach. I remember when Richard Jefferson went there, who kind of is a similar player to DeMar DeRozan. When he went there, everyone was like, oh, this is a piece. This will be another piece. And it went bad quickly. And neither of them had anything bad to say about each other, but it was like, oh, yeah, he's not up to snuff here. DeMar DeRozan, he might really regress. It's very possible because kind of playing under that kind of coach, very demanding. And I don't know that DeMar is that level of player, right? Still, 45 and a half.
I think they could go over. I could see them doing 47.
But the weird part with Ginobili and Parker gone, they sort of don't have anything
Spursian.
Yeah, they don't have anything left.
Well, we don't know that Ginobili's retired yet, but still at 41, I don't know that he's going to be the reason why.
It's hard, though. Like, you look at the roster, and you're like, I could at the end of the season see them winning 46, and I could at the end of the season see them winning 36, if you told me either way. You know, it's like DeJounte Murray, Patty Mills backing up, DeMar DeRozan, Rudy Gay, LaMarcus Aldridge, Pau Gasol. Haven't all these guys played in Toronto at one point? Yeah, that's a hard one at 44 and a half. I don't know. I don't know which way I'd go with that. I feel like I have to see DeMar DeRozan play like 5 games with the Spurs to see if this is going to work. I don't know. I was all sitting here going I'd go on the over, but I might actually go on the under 44 because they might win 44. Tim's team, Sacramento.
Again, how did this become my team?
They won 27 over under 26. So bad. There's just no hope up there. Oh my God! They got a
GM who smokes in the office in the building. I don't know if Bagley was really the right choice to help straighten things out with that team, and I feel like last year's summer league inflated De'Aaron Fox's value. I mean, they still have. Look, they have more to like in Sacramento than they do in Orlando.
Wait, didn't Vince Carter sign with Atlanta? Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
He's not on this list. He's not on the Atlanta list here. What a crazy signing that was. Sorry.
I'm going to go under.
Wow, man! To have all these years of like drafting, and to have De'Aaron Fox, Yogi Ferrell, Frank Mason. Shooting guard, you have Bogdan Bogdanovic. He was the net one, right?
No, he's not the net one.
He's not the net one. He's on Indiana.
Indiana.
Buddy Hield and Ben McLemore are second and third on the depth chart behind Bogdan Bogdanovic. Why did they bring back Ben McLemore?
Bogdanovic actually had a pretty good rookie year. I think he was on maybe second team all rookie.
I know, which is just
to go to Golden State though, and I know, why am I talking about Golden State? We're talking about Sacramento. To your point, they've had these great picks for all these years. When you look at the team that Golden State assembled, other than Durant, they did it picking not at the top of the lottery. I mean, those were, I know Curry was a lottery pick, but the others were not that high. So
he wasn't a high lottery pick either. He was like 7, right?
Well, Draymond Green was second round.
Yeah.
Klay Thompson
was like 11th.
Klay Thompson was 11th, I believe.
Yeah.
But still, it wasn't like it was a top 2 or 3 pick.
Yeah, so
he was on nobody's radar either.
The point is that if Golden State could put that team together with the picks they had, Sacramento has nothing to complain about. They should be able to put together a better team than they have.
It's just the way station of overhyped players. And I might have picked them too, but I don't think I would have. Like, listen to this power forward going into center depth chart. Marvin Bagley, Harry Giles, Scalabassier, Willie Cauley-Stein, Zach Randolph, Costa Koufos, Deontay Davis.
And they drafted Papagiannis, who they have since released. So
they picked all of the best Kentucky players. And it's like not going to work. Although to be fair, that other, that team, the De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk, those don't look too good either. I don't know. This is a fun one. I really like this one. Toronto. 59 wins, and they're 54 and a half. The big question is, will Kawhi Leonard be healthy? I think he's going to be 100% healthy. What do you think, Tim?
We talked a little bit about this beforehand. I think yes. I think he is.
And we think he might stay.
I think he's going to stay. Yeah, we both believe he's going to stay.
He's a weird guy, right? He's just, or maybe he's a trooper. Like, maybe no one in San Antonio talked to him.
I think he's going to stay. I think he's going to fall in love with Toronto.
I do too. I think it's a good city for him.
I think they're going to sell him hard. They're going to go out of their way to make him feel comfortable.
Well, here's the thing. They go to the finals. How does a guy leave a finals team?
Yeah, and they could.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to
probably
see the marketing. It's a perfect city for Kawhi Leonard because he's a great player. He doesn't have to speak loudly. They're going to do the speaking for him. He's going to own a country. It's perfect for him. I love how they went and signed his friend to be with the team.
We talked a little about this before, too, which is I feel like Toronto was like a day away from blowing it up until Leonard became available. It's like, okay, we're switching our coach. And I think if this hadn't, someone was
all-time move. It's
like running in and tell the GM to hang up the phone on the trade, like the Kyle Lowry trade, because we're not blowing it up. And they lose nothing because they can still blow it up next year. If he leaves, well, we just put it off for a year and we'll tear this down. And
we got out
rebuild.
of the DeRozan contract.
Yeah, so I think it's one of the better signings or the better trades that we've seen in a long time.
If Kyle Lowry keeps his head in it, because he was like, they were too friendly.
Villanova, Kyle Lowry.
I know, but him and DeRozan were like too friendly for such losers, like, to be honest. But he's a really good player. But he's never played with anyone like Kawhi. Like, people don't realize. I mean, we realize, but he's like a top 3 player in the league.
Oh, yeah, he was
MVP.
I mean, there were MVP.
Yeah.
There was MVP talk before he went down with the injury. Like, you could make a legitimate case for him to be the MVP of the league. He unmanned LeBron in that finals.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, when we look back at LeBron,
he's like a prison basketball player.
Peak LeBron, I don't think anyone has matched up with him as well as Kawhi Leonard.
Are you buying drugs on the block from LeBron, or are you buying them from Kawhi Leonard? Don't you think LeBron's a narc?
Really feels like a trick question, and one I don't want to have to answer. And
you're buying it from Kawhi, and he's picking LeBron's pocket of the other stuff. Just kidding. We're late into this, so I don't think people hear that. But I also love Danny Green getting slotted in as their shooting guard.
Yeah.
This starting, and their team was already so deep. I'm just interested to see if they, like Lowry, he's got to keep his head in it, and there's no reason he shouldn't. I think this team could win 62 games. And I think they could get to the finals. Because if you're going up against Boston, Kawhi will neutralize Jason Tatum. You will be like, oh, Jason Tatum took like such a step back this year. But it's because Kawhi was on him. And Kawhi is going to be seen much more. He's going to be in a different uniform, so it's going to look different. I agree with you. I think he might stay. And I think if he doesn't, you got to you get to the finals maybe. You got to the finals. You weren't getting there anyway. This fan base is going to be with you anyway. They're going to appreciate you did this. I know they're so loving of DeMar because he loved Canada. That doesn't mean anything to me as a fan. Like, maybe it does for them, but that's lame to me. So I'd actually like to see like Fred VanVleet starting with Kawhi. I never loved Jonas. I don't really love him as a center. I don't love that they have Serge there. It feels like he's been in the league forever. But Siakam's pretty good, so maybe they can move it there. But this team might be dealing too. They might see something they have and go, "This is our run." Because I kind of feel like they could use a little more shooting.
Well, the Clippers are on the line.
Get all them, or like make a crazy deal for someone from Portland. I have not been interested in watching Toronto in years. And I love watching that. That's probably close to my favorite East Coast watching Sunday game. Just like I watching the 9:30 Lakers. Mm-hmm. I love that 3:30 p.m. Toronto game on Sundays. This is going to be fun. And I don't think this whole thing, Kawhi with the cold, and like he went to Toronto for All-Star and he stayed in his room the whole time, and welcome to the NBA. You didn't want to be in San Antonio. So like the whole thing, you're traveling half the year. Like, it's not a big deal. It's totally fine. He will have to get his passport though. But yeah, I think to me, they're an over, because if they're not an over, it means things didn't go well. At 54.5.
Yeah, I would take the over.
I would as well.
Last two here. Utah. Utah was a 48, and their over-under is 49. That's hard. I'm going over because I think Donovan Mitchell is so good that he's going to ascend the way Dwayne Wade did, except he can shoot. Where you're like, or was it a fluke? And then he just goes to completely the next level. Like, how many years was it before? Was 2006 Dwayne Wade's second year?
He was drafted in 2004 or
3.
Was it? Oh yeah, 2003 draft with LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Oh right. So 2003 draft with LeBron, but they made the playoffs the first year.
They did,
because I went to that playoffs in Miami.
That was
that.
Lamar Odom,
Karan Butler, Rasul Butler, I think.
Brian Grant.
Why was that like the reveal? Brian Grant.
Don't we remember Brian Grant? Xavier.
Yeah, that was a really fun team. So I think that they're going to. I think they might go over because I think they're meant to. I think he's that good of a player. Tim.
Yeah, I agree. I think actually they're going to be the 3rd seed in the West. That's my prediction.
Great.
I think they'll be between 3 and 5 or 6. I mean, they're a solid playoff team in the West, so I think that's probably pretty close to the number. I guess if I had to pick, I'd probably go over to 50, 51.
And Quinn Snyder's a very good coach.
Oh, he's a very good coach. Yeah. And he found his right place. Like, he's not going to go anywhere. He's going to be like Sloan, I think, because he doesn't need to move up to that next.
No, and I mean, his personal story, I mean, being head coach of Missouri and when he was very, very young and then out, and he worked his way back. So, yes, I think he appreciates where he is, and he worked very hard to get there.
So how crazy is this as the aside? So 2003 Miami Heat. Villanova's Malik Allen, Rafer Alston, Jerome Beasley, Karan Butler, Rasul Butler, Bimbo Coles, Brian Grant, Udonis Haslem was also in his, I think in his first. Yeah, he was a rookie that year. Tyrone Hill, Eddie Jones, Lamar Odom, Kirk Penny, Dwayne Wade, Samaki Walker, John Wallace, Lauren Woods, Wang ZZ. Remember him?
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
And Brian Grant.
Nuts. All those guys were traded for Shaq. So yeah, I think we're thinking 49's tough though. That's a tough number to pick over for a team like this. But they're a nice team.
And they'll probably be top 2 or 3 in defense next year, and that's usually a pretty good recipe for
and they didn't
games.
lose anything.
Well, they need Rudy Gobert to stay healthy, right? But Derek Favors, like, they even got kind of a favorable deal from him. It was like
Pun
2
intended.
years.
It's 2 years, $36 million, but
it's a lot.
But it's a lot, but it's one of those like 1 year plus deals, so it really could just be 1 year. So
last up, our favorite team, the Washington Wizards, 43, and they're 44.5, and they brought in a man who says he's bringing in the games of Kevin Durant and who was the other one? Dwight Howard?
I don't remember what he said. I just know that they brought him in.
No, he said...
I've stopped listening to Dwight Howard, I think, in 2013.
Oh, sorry. I forgot. He said that he's going to be adding... Where is it here?
Adding a 3-point jump shot.
Sorry. Dwight Howard's trainer. His plan is to evolve into Anthony Davis, Kevin Durant. And play until he's 40. I'm sure he'll play until he's 40.
Will he finish playing in the NBA when he's 40, or will he be in China playing?
And he turns 33 in December.
I think the only question about Dwight Howard is, will he end up playing for Miami at some point and therefore have played for every team in the Southeast Conference in the NBA?
Is he the most 1990s big man in the league at this point? Like, where you're like, wait a second, Tree Rollins is still in the league? And then he was like an assistant coach. He's just the weirdest guy in the NBA, I think, which says a lot. 44.5. I just don't believe in the Wizards at all. Like, I don't believe in any of their players. Maybe Bradley Beal, but John Wall's in the way, so it's like
Wall, Howard. It's a weird mix.
If the objective is to get Scott Brooks fired, I think they put together the perfect roster. If that's what Ernie Grunfeld wanted to do, like, how do I get Scott Brooks fired? This is the team I'm going to put together.
Well, so the craziest part, John Wall, who's 28 this year, he's making 19 this year. He's making 37.8 next year. He's making 40.8 the year before. He's making 43.8 the year before. And then in 2022, he's making $46.8 million.
John Wall?
John Wall. I mean, that is like
How much did Bob Cousy make?
the only person. So, like, Steph is number one. He's got the number one contract in the league. He's 37-4, 42, 43, 45-7. And you're like, okay.
Just think back to the summer of 2010, when the Nets were trying to get the number one pick, and if they did, they were going to take John Wall, and that's what was going to lure LeBron to Brooklyn.
Remember
that was the plan.
John Wall, yeah. How about Kyle Lowry making 31 this year, 33 next year? Oh my God. Yeah, they're going to be. You know what's messed up with the Wizards is they'll probably be over, but it'll be like at 45.
Yeah,
it'll be completely uninspiring, and you will have not watched more than like 5 games the whole season. There's nothing to. I mean, by adding Dwight Howard, it's like, why did he even go there? Why didn't he see the irony and how bad it is to go there?
The funny thing is that Dwight Howard can still play. It's just that every team he goes to doesn't get any better. Like, he had a game against the Nets last year where he had 31 and 30.
And so, everyone hates him, though. Yeah, that's the other thing.
That's the thing. But it's like he's still physically capable of playing good basketball for him, but everywhere he goes, the team gets worse.
Well, he can just, like, accumulate. Like, he stands there, and so he can just, like...
He absorbs stats.
Yeah, he gets, like, 600 at-bats, you know? Yeah. It's like... This team just became so unwatchable, and I don't understand. And I think I said like a tweet like this: isn't it hilarious that they will have had Dwight Howard and Darren Williams, and neither of those guys would have been there for their, they would have been bought out. Like, why did Dwight? This is like, sometimes this is what I don't understand about players. Why did Dwight, why was he falling over himself to get out of beautiful Orlando to go play in Brooklyn? And then now he's traded to Brooklyn, where probably he would be able to accumulate numbers at like a ridiculous level. And why does he not want to go?
Well, I don't necessarily know that the Nets even wanted him because they have Jared Allen as their starting center, and he had a pretty good rookie year, and the idea is that they'll develop him. I don't know that they'd want to...
Couldn't you make him your small forward if he's going to be like Anthony Davis or Kevin Durant?
Yeah.
I mean, if we knew that going into the trade, that's some inside information that could have helped the, getting him into town. If we knew we were getting Kevin Durant, imagine if he comes out and he actually is. He's like hitting threes, dribbling up the court. He's so unaware, though. Like, he has no self-awareness whatsoever. But they're just an unwatchable team. Like, I watch so much basketball. And Tim, who is their point guard depth chart? The 3 players on their team.
Thomas Satoransky.
How do you know that?
Because I watched them.
Oh, there we go. And then who's the third, Greg?
The third, I don't know.
Michael Adams.
Chasson Randall.
Oh, he was on the Knicks last year.
Oh, I don't even know.
Or he was on their G League team, and I think he got a call up early in the year, and then he went to Philly, and so they must have just added him.
Liddell Eccles. Is he still on the Wizards? They were the Bullets at the time.
How about the center depth?
Dallas Colleges.
Dwight Howard,
Jan Mahimi,
and Thomas Bryant. How about the shooting guard depth? That's a fun one. This is a random one.
Cal Chaney.
No, you forgot this one. Bradley Beal, who's number 2. Can't forget this one.
Oh, Rivers.
Yeah.
Austin Rivers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then number 3, Jody Meeks. Wow. Oh my God, Jeff Green is on the Wizards now?
Yeah, they signed him in the offseason.
Yeah. He's back home.
Oh my God.
Back home. Georgetown.
What a sad homecoming. Oh my God. It's crazy. Well, I think we've done it, and I think we know the Golden State Warriors will be in the finals. Who will be in from the East? Will it be Toronto
or Boston?
Or the Boston Celtics?
I'll take Boston, but I could see Toronto. But I would put my money right now on Boston.
Will Toronto be the 1 seed, though? They might because of injuries.
I'm going to say Boston, just because we know what we've seen from Brad Stevens, where we don't know what we've seen from Toronto's new coach.
Oh, Nick Nurse.
Yes.
And we want to see Kawhi be healthy.
Yeah.
So we know that Boston...
Are we going to be upset if he's healthy? Because, like, why did he just wasted a whole season of his career? Why did he do this?
We'll wait for the 30 for 30 when it comes out.
But he's not going to speak in it. Like, why did he do this? I don't understand. I think he's going to be perfectly healthy.
It will be Kawhi, WHY, question mark.
Yeah.
Will that be the title of the 30 for 30?
Yeah.
Kawhi.
Yeah, it's funny that, like, the one guy does an injury, the great player, to leave Toronto, and this one comes in Toronto, Vince Carter.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. Hopefully he has maybe Kawhi's still playing when he's 41. All right. So we got Golden State versus, I think if you put the best players of Toronto and Boston, would they be able to beat Golden State? Maybe.
Yeah.
Tim, you're like short circuit.
Yeah, I did. I didn't.
Well, Kawhi might not even play on that team. All right, guys. Well, that was fun. Who can talk about 2 hours of NBA in August? Only us.
Who else but us?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you very much, man.
Another time.
Thanks for having me.